You wake up at 3 in the morning because you have to pee. Again, that's the 4th time tonight. And you're thirsty. Not normal thirsty, but a deep cellular thirst that no glass of water seems to touch. You drink. You pee. You drink again. Your mouth is still dry. You tell yourself it's the pizza or the beer or the fact that you're getting older. You go back to bed. And while you're lying there, mildly annoyed, something quiet and catastrophic is already underway inside you. Your own body has run out of a single molecule. And in the absence of that molecule, it has made a decision, a logical, well-intentioned, absolutely lethal decision. It has started to burn itself for fuel. And the byproduct of that fire is a kind of acid, and that acid is now rising, drop by drop, in your bloodstream. You feel completely fine. That's the trap. Because by the time you feel the way this is going to make you feel, you will have somewhere between a few hours and a day. And the terrible part, the part almost nobody understands until it's happening, is that the thing killing you costs only a few dollars to make. Now, television has told you diabetes is a lifestyle. It's the punchline in a sitcom. The reason a character can't have dessert, the thing your uncle manages with a pill and a sigh. Every medical drama frames the crisis as somebody eating too much sugar and needing a shot to bring it down. That's not this. This is the opposite scenario. The one that actually fills emergency rooms and morgues. Not somebody who took too much of something. Somebody whose body ran out of the one thing keeping it running. We'll cover the warning signs and how people survive this, because most do. First, what's happening inside you. Let's go back to the molecule. The molecule is insulin. Insulin is a hormone your pancreas makes, and its job is almost absurdly simple. It's a key. Every cell in your body runs on glucose, which is sugar, the fuel that powers your muscles, your organs, your brain. But glucose can't just wander into a cell on its own. The cell door is locked. Insulin is the key that opens it. When insulin shows up, the door swings open, glucose walks in, and the cell gets to eat. That's the entire arrangement. Now imagine the key stops being made. In type 1 diabetes, your own immune system has quietly destroyed the pancreatic cells that produce insulin. It mistook them for invaders and eliminated them. No key. And so here is the cruel irony that defines this entire death. Your bloodstream is now flooded with glucose, absolutely swimming in fuel, and every single cell in your body is starving. The food is everywhere. The cells just can't get the door open. It's a banquet behind bulletproof glass. Your body, of course, doesn't know it's a diabetic. It just knows the cells are screaming that they're starving. So it does the sensible thing, the thing it's evolved to do during a famine. It switches to the backup generator. It starts breaking down your own body fat for energy. This process is called lipolysis. Lipo for fat, lysis for breaking apart. And on paper, it's a perfectly good survival mechanism. Your liver takes those fats and converts them into an alternative fuel called ketones, ketone bodies. You may have heard the word from someone doing a keto diet, and in small controlled amounts, ketones are harmless. Your brain can even run on them. But this is not small and controlled. This is your liver in full panic mode with no insulin to tell it when to stop, mass-producing ketones and dumping them into your blood as fast as it can. And here's the problem that turns a survival mechanism into a death sentence. Ketones are acids. Your blood has a very narrow comfort zone when it comes to acidity. Measured on the pH scale, it likes to sit right around 7.4, and it does not tolerate change. Every enzyme in your body, every chemical reaction that keeps you alive, is tuned to that exact number. As ketones flood in, the acid level climbs and the pH starts to drop. This is the acidosis in Diabetic Ketoacidosis. Literally, acid blood from diabetes. Your body has built-in buffers, chemical shock absorbers that neutralize acid, and for a while they hold the line. But the ketones keep coming, and one by one those buffers get used up and overwhelmed. And this is roughly when you stop feeling fine. The first thing you notice is that you can't stop peeing, and you can't stop being thirsty, the very thing that woke you up at 3 a.m. Here's why. All that excess sugar in your blood has to go somewhere. So your kidneys start dumping it into your urine, and sugar drags water out with it. You are essentially urinating away your own hydration. You're going constantly, and every trip pulls more fluid out of your tissues, so you get thirstier and thirstier no matter how much you drink. You are drying out from the inside, like a plant nobody watered, except you're standing at the sink, chugging glass after glass, and it isn't landing. Then comes the nausea. Deep, rolling, relentless nausea, and then vomiting. And this is where the whole thing accelerates viciously, because now you're losing even more fluid, and you can't keep water down to replace it. Your stomach starts to hurt, sometimes badly enough that people show up at the ER convinced it's appendicitis. You feel weak in a way that sleep doesn't fix. Bone tired, wrung out. You lie down because standing feels like too much. And still, most people at this stage assume it's a nasty stomach flu. A young man named Alec assumed exactly that. Now your body notices the acid, and it panics in a very specific, visible way. It needs to get rid of acid, and one form of acid can actually be exhaled as carbon dioxide. So your brainstem, the ancient control center at the base of your skull that runs your automatic functions, orders your lungs to breathe it off. You begin to breathe deep and fast and heavy, huge labored breaths, like you just finished sprinting even though you're lying perfectly still. This has a name, Kussmaul breathing, after the German doctor who first described it. And to anyone watching, it looks like you're struggling for air. You're not. You're trying to blow the acid out of your own bloodstream, one breath at a time. It's your body's last-ditch bailing operation on a boat that's taking on water faster than you can bail. And then there's the smell. As ketones build up, one of them, acetone, the exact same compound in nail polish remover, comes off in your breath. People describe it as strangely sweet, fruity, like overripe apples or pear candy. It is one of the few genuinely reliable signals that this is DKA and not the flu, and it's the kind of detail a spouse or a paramedic catches before anyone runs a single test. By now, the dehydration is severe. You've lost so much fluid through urine and vomiting that there isn't enough blood volume left to properly pressurize your system. Your heart races, trying to push a shrinking supply of blood through your body. 120 beats a minute, hammering while you lie still. Your blood pressure sags. Your hands and feet go cold as circulation pulls inward to protect the core. And the organ that suffers most from all of this is the one you need most, your brain. Your brain is exquisitely sensitive to two things, hydration and pH. Both are now collapsing, so your thinking starts to blur at the edges. You get foggy, confused, you lose the thread of simple thoughts. You might slur a little or forget why you walked into a room, or fail to understand a question someone's asking you. The people around you notice you're not quite right before you do, because the very organ you'd use to notice is the one being compromised. This is the acidosis and the dehydration reaching your neurons, your brain cells, and interfering with the electrical signaling that is, in the most literal sense, you. Your personality is a chemistry experiment, and someone just knocked the pH out of range. From confusion, the slide continues. Confusion becomes drowsiness. Drowsiness becomes lethargy. That heavy sinking pull towards sleep that you cannot resist. Your responses get slower. Someone says your name, and it takes you a beat too long to answer. Then 2 beats, then you don't. This is the descent into a coma. Not the dramatic movie kind, but a quiet subtraction of awareness, consciousness draining out of the room like water down a slow drain. And here is a small mercy in an otherwise merciless process. By this point, you're not suffering the way you were an hour ago. The fear is gone. The nausea is distant. The brain, starved and acid-soaked, has stopped generating the panic. You are simply going under. The final stretch belongs to the brainstem, that same ancient control center that ordered the heavy breathing. As the acid and dehydration deepen, its most basic functions falter. The breaths get shallower, slower, farther apart. Your heart, running on too little fluid and drifting further from that safe pH, starts to lose its rhythm. The electrical timing that coordinates each beat begins arriving out of sequence, a condition called cardiac arrhythmia. And a heart beating out of sequence cannot reliably pump. Somewhere in this quiet, unwatched window, often in a bed, often alone, often mistaken for someone sleeping off a bad night, the breathing stops, the heart follows, and the person is gone. That is death from diabetic ketoacidosis. Now, before you sit with how gentle and how preventable that ending is, understand that everything I just described has a real name and a real face. And it happened recently, in America, to someone who did almost everything right. Alec Smith was born in Minnesota in 1991. He was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at 23, and by all accounts, he handled it. He was a restaurant manager with plans to open his own place someday, responsible, well-liked, on top of his condition. Then he turned 26, and under the rules of his health insurance, he aged off his mother's plan. On his own, the insulin that kept him alive, plus his supplies, ran about $1,300 a month. His salary didn't stretch to that and rent and everything else. So Alec did what a survey later found 1 in 4 American diabetics has done. He rationed. He tried to make the insulin he had left stretch to his next payday. He told no one, not his mother, not his girlfriend, that he was running low because he didn't want to be a burden and payday was only days away. And his final days followed the exact path we just traced. Friends who saw him on a Saturday noticed nothing. By Sunday, his girlfriend was worried because he didn't feel up to eating. Monday, he stayed home from work with breathing trouble and vomiting, the Kussmaul breathing, the nausea, the body in full acidosis. And on Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2017, his girlfriend found him in his apartment. He had died alone of diabetic ketoacidosis, 27 days after his insurance lapsed and 3 days before payday. He was 26. The molecule that would have saved him costs a few dollars to manufacture. His mother turned her grief into a national fight over insulin prices, and there is now a law in Minnesota with her son's name on it. So here's the part that matters most. Because unlike a lot of what we cover here, this one is not just survivable. It is, in almost every case, completely reversible if you catch it. And catching it comes down entirely to recognizing the signals early. So these are the ones to actually remember. The single most important thing, if you or someone you love has diabetes and starts vomiting, do not treat it like the flu and wait it out. Vomiting in a diabetic is an emergency until proven otherwise, because it means you can't keep fluids or insulin down while the acid is climbing. The classic combination to burn into your memory is this: extreme thirst and constant urination, then nausea and vomiting, then heavy fast breathing, and that sweet, fruity, nail polish smell on the breath. If you catch 2 or 3 of those together, you go to an emergency room. Not tomorrow, that day. You say 4 words that will move you to the front of the line: possible diabetic ketoacidosis. And if there's a glucose meter or ketone strips in the house, and there should be for anyone with diabetes, you check. Ketone strips are a couple of dollars, and they will tell you in 60 seconds whether the fire has started. And this is the reassuring part. In a hospital, the fix is almost elegant in how directly it undoes everything I described. They run fluids into your vein, liters of saline, which reverses the dehydration, restores your blood volume, and dilutes the acid all at once. They give you insulin, the missing key, which finally unlocks the cells, shuts off the panic fat burning, and stops new ketones from being made. And they carefully monitor and replace a mineral called potassium, because insulin drives potassium into your cells, and if your levels are already low, correcting the sugar too fast without watching potassium can throw off your heart. This one came from one of you over on the community tab. So if it kept you up tonight, you know exactly who to thank.